Trying to a list of names. Hello, everyone. We'll start in 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. Just want to give everybody a chance to settle in, join from other calls as it may be. And we have a lot to cover, so we will start pretty soon. I guess it's weird to read all of the names in the attendee list out loud, but I see so many I recognize. So I just want to say hello to everyone on the call. Lots of names and faces I haven't seen in a minute. So really excited to connect with all of you and to see you in Las Vegas. So I think our numbers are pretty much settling down. Like I said, we have a lot of content to cover today. And I will not be covering all of it. I am very, very, very excited to introduce my colleagues in the learning and development team here at Out and Equal. We have been growing, we have been expanding. And so this is not the entire team. We have a couple of folks that will be starting later, but did want to introduce some folks that you may already know via email, via phone calls, and some folks that you are about to get to know as well. So I'll start with myself because while I know many of you on the call, there are some names I don't know. So hello, nice to meet you. My name is Isabel Porras. I use she, her pronouns, and I lead the learning and development team here at Out and Equal. Done so, I've been with Out and Equal for about 6 years now. So this will be my sixth summit, I believe. So I'm very, very excited for that and to be back in person. And like I said, I'm joined by my fabulous team here. So I'm going to go a little bit out of order. The first person I want to introduce is Q Garcia, the fabulous Q you'll see here. Hi, Learning and Development Associate is sharing with you via, they are our producer. He's our producer for the call today. He is also in contact with many of you, any of your questions that are coming into our learning inbox, questions around registration, course selection, etc. So wanted you to put a face to that name. Also joined by Rebecca York, who's our learning and development manager, lead facilitator for a lot of our content. And so many of you know Rebecca from their fabulous webinars and sessions. And the latest person to join our team is Jen Nugent. I am so, so excited to introduce Jen, who is our senior learning and events manager. And Jen is taking on a really exciting new role that those of you who've been here for a while know is very needed. And so Jen is going to really be liaising between the learning and development team, our events team, our corporate engagement team. All this to say, we have more bodies, more brain power working on all things learning and development at Summit. There are more of us here to support you with your questions. And so before we wanted to get started, wanted to give you a chance to put some names to faces, like I said, and we'll share our emails below. If somebody can chat in learning it out and equal, that is our team-wide email. So that will go to all of us. Any general question that you have about Summit, workshops, learning, if you don't know which specific person to send it to, please email learning and we'll go from there. So today's call is not just about learning, but more specifically about Summit and our learning at this year's Workplace Summit. So Jen is going to share a lot of information for those of you who are presenters on that call. On that webinar. But before we do that, I want to get a little bit of feedback from all of you. So those of you who've been in sessions with Rebecca or myself know we love a Menti, right? This is a third-party software. It's totally free. You don't have to download anything. If you have a smartphone, you can hover over the QR code, which I'm going to do because that's how I time you. Hover over the QR code here. Or alternately, open a new browser tab and enter the code you see there. Once you're in there, you're going to see a heart and an open Q&A. That Q&A button will be open throughout the presentation so you can submit questions. And if you give the heart a little tap, it's a little serotonin boost for me, but it also lets me see how many people are entering the Menti. So I think we're about a third of the way there. And Rebecca's also chatted in the code and link. So thank you for that. All right, so I think we're about halfway in. I'm going to go to the next question. The code will remain at the top. So if you're joining a little bit late, you should be able to see that. Let's skip the agenda and go straight to the next question. We'll come back to the agenda. So before we get into the agenda, get into the details of today's conversation, we really want to get a sense of who is on the line. And I believe you may choose multiple options. So perhaps you are the primary contact. This is typically the person who is responsible for liaising between Out and Equal and your organization. You may be our primary partnership point of contact, or you might just be the person internally managing workshops. Some of you are also speakers, but not all. So we wanted to get a sense of who was on the call. Glad to know the majority of you are speaking at this year's webinar. And we have a couple of folks with other roles who may be acting as producers, supporters. So really appreciate everybody joining today. I think we have maybe 2 more questions just to level set. And I'll say these are not just warm-up questions. This also serves a purpose for us to be able to adjust the presentation as needed, depending on who's in the line. So thank you so much for sharing your role. I believe the next question, thank you, here is, have you been to Summit before? So would love to hear from folks. And actually, I would say if you have been to more than 6 summits, so if you have been to more summits than me, please chat in. I know for a fact, I saw some names in here. There are some folks who are in double digits of summit attendance. So please put it out there. I want folks to know and want to celebrate those of you who've been many, many times. So about 30 of you have been with us in the past, about 33. This is pretty evenly split. So some of you have attended but never presented. I'm so excited for you to do so. And welcome to those 26 of you that don't know exactly what you're in for yet. It's going to be great. That will be my promise to you. It will be really great. Okay, Jen, so I think we have a good mix of folks, speakers, as well as participants, and a very important final question before I turn it back over to Jen. Are you registered? Have you completed your summit registration? All right, so virtually, I'm going to send some gold stars over to the 46, 52 of you who are in the 56 in the yeses. Those of you who are in progress, I really want to encourage you to get that done soon. And those of you who haven't started, please make sure you get that done really quick as soon as we hang up the call today. Don't do it during the call because Jen has a lot of really important information for you, but right after the call, please register. And with that, I think, Jen, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know we have to go back a couple of slides for your agenda. Apologies for skipping that. But I think we have a quorum of folks here and the majority are registered. So that is very, very good to know. And as I mentioned, please submit your questions via the Menti throughout. We'll be taking a look at that. So Jen, let me turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Isabel. And thanks, Q, for your driving from the back seat. I appreciate your support very much. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to finally have the chance to connect with you in today's call. I feel like we're all old email buddies. And I certainly look forward to seeing you all in October. Can you believe that Summit is just 5 weeks away? It's happening, and it's happening very soon. We have a lot to cover in today's call, and as you'll see on the screen, we're going to talk about registration, the structure of the event, what you can expect in your session room. We're going to dive into the Pathable Conference app, talk a little bit about marketing, and then make sure you all understand the action items for today. Q, if you'll just take us on to the next slide. Thank you so very much. The reason we ended with that speaker registration question is because all speakers need to register by the 9th. This has got some ramifications on the back end around things like food and beverage numbers and a whole lot of other kind of good stuff. So please do what you can to get those registrations taken care of. Today's presentation has a lot of information. The deck has been designed for you to be able to take that information away with you and digest at your leisure. So I'm not going to be reading through everything you see on the screen, but I am going to be calling out some high points as we move through the presentation. So there's speaker registration. The other big tie-in for speakers to be registered is that is how you will gain access to the Pathable platform. Pathable is where you will upload your speaker bios and headshots and LinkedIn profiles and do all that kind of stuff. You'll get access in a couple of weeks, but the reason we need you registered is so that we can make those connections on the back end. Your partner contact, your primary contact, is your best point of reference to take care of your registration. And there is some additional help and resources listed here on the screen. Very exciting is where are we going to be? We're going to be in Vegas, baby. Personally, I've been in the US for 25 years and I've never been to Vegas. So I'm super excited. What sort of environment is it? I'm for LGBTQ plus people. I'm sharing here the Nevada State Scorecard from our good friends at the HRC. I'm sure you're all familiar with this resource, and you can certainly, you're welcome to go and visit their website and have a look for some further information about the state of Nevada for LGBTQ plus folks. What you see now is a map of the Strip, and for those of you who can see the Ferris wheel right in the middle of the screen, on the left-hand side, there, the Mirage is right across the street from the Ferris wheel. So we're at the Mirage Hotel. We're right in the thick of things. And I've also included an aerial shot of the hotel here for your reference. From the outside, the hotel looks like this. We've got a daytime view and a nighttime view, and the Mirage is famous for its volcano, which is one of the things that I know I'll be checking out while I'm visiting Vegas for the first time. Here is the floor plan for the Mirage. On the right-hand side, you'll see the volcano right on the street there. You go through the front door, through all the orange, which is the casino. Then the pool and dolphin habitat is on the left-hand side, and the convention center is there on the right-hand side. This slide shows us a close-up of the convention center. The big room on the left-hand side is where the plenaries are going to be taking place, the opening brunch, the power lunch, that kind of thing happens over there. There are a couple of larger rooms, Montego, which is just to the right of the plenary room, is where the premier sessions are happening. Two of the other bigger rooms are designated for the featured sessions, and general sessions happen in all of the other rooms. Again, you'll be receiving this deck, so you'll have plenty of time to pore over all the details. So what are we doing? We're doing Summit. There is a pre-summit schedule the week before, and it takes place virtually from Tuesday the 11th through Thursday the 13th. There's a focus on community engagement and networking, and I've included here the link for you to have a look at that schedule and study up and learn more and participate as you're able. Of course, for the Vegas experience, we are going to be in person, and so that means COVID policies are in place. We're requiring people to be vaccinated. Please bring your proof of vaccination. I've included the link here to the health and safety page for you to maybe bookmark and keep an eye on, just in case the situation is fluid. If you're not a vaccinated person, we will accept a negative PCR test 48 hours in advance of your arrival in Vegas, although please do keep an eye on that page in case the policies change. There's a pre-conference day on the Monday. That's when the Diverse Leaders Fellows will be gathering and kicking off their extraordinary year ahead. The Future of Work champions are also gathering. For this crew, there are some practitioner leadership labs going on. And they are really exciting 2.5-hour deep dives into elements directly related to implementing your DEI and inclusion practices in your workplace. I've included the link there on this slide, so you can go and have a look at the schedule there. It's fabulous. And now we get into some of the meat and potatoes of the call that we're going to be talking about today. Summit proper is from Tuesday the 18th through to Thursday the 20th. There are 3 plenaries, 9 premier sessions, 24 featured sessions, and 99, count them, general sessions. The sessions are broken up into workshop blocks. There are 12 blocks that happen over the course of 3 days, and there are up to 11 sessions total in each block. So when I've been sending you messages about making those descriptions zing so that people know to choose your session, this is why. There is a lot of amazing, fantastic content at Summit this year. We're so proud of the work that all of our partners have been doing, and so appreciate all of you that are bringing that peer learning experience to Summit. Every session is 60 minutes, and we are operating on Pacific time. Tuesday, we start with brunch, of course. That takes up all of the morning, and then we have 3 session blocks running in the throughout the afternoon. On Wednesday, we have 2 blocks in the morning, then we have power lunch, then we have another 2 blocks, and then it's night out. And on Thursday, it's heads down, 5 blocks all in a row. You'll see that in the timing, there's a gap for gathering of lunch, and then we all have some time late afternoon, early evening to put our frocks on and get pretty in time for the gala, which happens at 8 p.m. Every session has been divided into tracks. Most of the tracks are the same as last year, although I do want to call out a couple of changes for you. Allies and allyship has been incorporated into belonging and workshop culture. That's one of the changes. The other change is that we have a new name for called Identities, and that encompasses ace, arrow, bi, intersex, pan, poly, queer, two-spirit, and plus, plus, plus. They're the two big changes in tracks this year. We've referenced the materials that you submitted initially and made some adjustments as well as those refinements came into play. The schedule, the big question, when is my session? We'll be emailing out the schedule after this webinar. Partners will receive it also in a spreadsheet format so that if you are arranging your team's activities throughout the day, you've got a ready tool there to reference. Otherwise, we'll be publishing the schedule online on September the 15th, which is just a week away. Now I'd like to spend a minute talking a bit about what you can expect in your session room. All of the rooms, this is a change for this year. We've communicated this already to folks, but just to reiterate, all rooms are set up in theatre style this year. Every room will have a podium, a projector, a screen, and chairs for the panelists to sit at. The podium will have a hardwired microphone, and I'm just switching here, and the panelists will have a tabletop microphone to use. We are asking that everyone brings their own laptop. We've found that this reduces people's stress levels considerably and gives you maximum control over your presentation. If there's anything else that you need in your room, for your session, please let us know. There are some resources on site where you might be able to hire additional equipment, and please bring anything else that you need. One thing I do suggest for everybody, particularly with things like dongles, make sure you put your name on them. Make sure they're labeled, even if it's just your initials with a Sharpie, so there's no confusion over what belongs to whom. That was a lot of information. That was a big brain dump. So now we're just going to take a pause, take a step back. Do keep chatting in your questions there. Thank you so much. And now we'll spend a minute talking about how to have a great presentation. One seed I want to plant with you is we will be asking attendees to fill out evaluations after the event. So if you could ask your attendees one question after your presentation, what would that be? Start having a think about that, and there'll be a place for you to enter that question in just a few minutes. So, do's and don'ts of a great presentation. They're all here. Practice. Stick to the abstract. Focus on the content and the peer learning, engage the audience. You've seen Menti in use during this webinar. That's a fantastic tool and we really love it. We've only started to scratch the surface in terms of what you've seen here today, but we do highly recommend it, and no, we don't get any sort of commission by you using it. We just think it's fabulous. Please start and end your session on time, and make sure that you bring a backup of your presentation and then bring a backup of the backup. A spare thumb drive goes a long way. Couple of don'ts here. In past years, when we've gotten feedback from attendees that hasn't been favourable, the primary feedback is because the session turned into a marketing session for your organization. We are here to share and develop best practices around LGBTQ+ inclusion in the workplace. Please don't move the audience chairs. We're not allowed to stick post-its to the wall, and please end your session on time. There will always be great conversations that happen after your session. Those will be just as great out in the hallway so that the next team can move in and begin preparation for their sessions. Okay, I said I would focus on takeaways and tasks for you to accomplish between now and Summit. And we've laid those out here on this slide. This week is a lot. You need to use the Airtable form to submit any final adjustments to your title, your abstract, and your speaker list. The speaker list is super important along with their emails, because that is how your speakers will gain access to Pathable, where they can create their own profile and be attached to that session. This week also, you need to finish up registering to attend and take care of your housing. Our Mirage block is close to, or if not sold out. Vegas is busy. Get that taken care of, get it off your list. The rest of September, there are some other tasks here for you. I'll be sharing more about comms and building out your title slide in a minute. And then the last week of September is when you will receive access to Pathable. We'll cover it in more detail in a second, but please budget some time on your calendar. Budget half an hour in that week. And if you're a primary contact, maybe budget an hour to make sure all your people are taken care of. That's also where you'll be able to build out some of your back-end functionality and upload files and all that good stuff. All of that needs to be completed by September 30th. That gives us a week to do our final tweaks before the platform goes live to all attendees, many thousands of them, beginning October 7th. That's when the world gets access to all the details behind Summit. Okay. So it's October, we've arrived in Vegas, it's Summit time. On the day of your session, you have a 30-minute changeover in between sessions. That's why we're asking people to end on time, so that you can come in to your room about 20 minutes before your session to get set up and get ready. Each volunteer is each room is going to have a volunteer, and that person can help you get settled. And that's also the perfect time for you to have a final presenter huddle. Okay. We're 29 minutes into this webinar. If you're doing other things, this is the time to pay attention. Now we are going to talk about Pathable, which is the conference app that we're going to use. As speakers and presenters, you are going to get access before the rest of the world so that you can build out your profile and develop your presentation within Pathable using any of the other tools. You're going to get that invitation by September 24th, and you're going to have a week to do that. During that time, I also ask that you review how for primary contacts, please review how your session is listed and get in touch with me directly if there are any last minute tweaks that we need to make. There are 3 features in Pathable that you can take notice of. One is you can use Pathable to create polls. You can poll your audience around various issues related to your session. There's also a chat function in there. You can chat with attendees before and after the session. If you choose to chat during the session, that's up to you, but we recommend that since we're all going to be in person in the room, a recommendation is that you use live voice for chat during your session, but certainly use the in-app features for connecting with people afterwards. Exciting thing about Pathable is you can also upload files in there. You can put up PDFs and pictures and movies, and provided that each file is not bigger than 10 gigs, you can upload 10 or 15 different files in there if you want. That's all the kind of stuff that you can check out in the last week of September. So now Q is going to play for you a speaker video that Pathable have shared with us.
The first thing you will receive is an electronic invitation to your virtual event. The invitation will look similar to this, but branded for your specific event. At the center, there is an important button which contains your unique authorization link. When you click the button, you will be directed to claim your account on your virtual event site. Notice that some of your information will automatically populate, and you may find additional fields provided by your event host. You will need to create a password. It only needs to be 6 characters, and after you have claimed your account, you will log into your virtual event site with the email address and password used here. Once you agree to the terms and conditions, you have 2 options. You can click Continue to App to proceed to the homepage of your virtual event, or click Complete Profile, which will take you to a page to edit your personal profile. You can upload a headshot and edit your details to create your unique profile. The more information you provide, the more you will pique your audience's interest. Your public profile will showcase your expertise and allow attendees to get to know you. If at any time you'd like to edit these details, hover over your name in the desktop header and then select Edit My Profile. Your audience is excited to get to know you. When they click on your headshot, it will link to your public profile. Your profile will display the information you added and your sessions. Attendees may be able to connect with you by sending direct messages or scheduling a private meeting. The customizable navigation bar is the key to getting the most from your virtual event. To easily view any session you are speaking at or planning to attend, click on the My Agenda tab under the Agenda menu. All your sessions will automatically populate here for quick access. To prepare for your session, click on the Agenda card to open the Agenda Details page. Here you can review your session description, check your digital collateral, and engage with your audience. In the Public Chat tab, attendees can converse before, during, and after your session. The countdown timer will be replaced with a Join Meeting button 20 minutes before your session start time, giving you early access to your session's Zoom room. These 20 minutes act as a green room where you and your support staff can test your audio, video, and screen sharing before any attendees can enter. At the start of your session, the audience will join you. To start your session, it only takes 3 steps. Step 1, click My Agenda from the navigation bar. Step 2, click on the agenda card of the session you would like to begin. Step 3, click the Join Meeting button. Remember, you will have access to your green room 20 minutes before the start time of the session. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you
Brilliant. Thanks, Q. Okay, so that was a lot of information. It's a general overview of Pathable. There may be one or two features that don't apply to our event. In particular, the green room is one of those. Those of you who were virtual speakers last year would have used that feature to log into your event. This year we're in person, so that doesn't apply. There's, again, a lot of information being thrown your way. And so on this slide, I've recapped some information about how to sign into Pathable if you used the platform last year and still have the same email. You're all set, good to go. If you remember your password from last year, even better. If not, you can click Forgot Password and reset it early enough. For new users, you just sign up and create a new account. And just remember while you're doing that, is that as speakers and presenters, you're getting early access to the site. We're still building it right along with you. So you might see a few things that are not quite finished. We appreciate your grace on all of that. It'll definitely all be ready for presenters for all attendees, excuse me, by October the 7th. Okay, once again, repetition. Speaker setup deadline, September 30th. You'll get an email by September the 24th to set up all your stuff. I recommend that you budget plus or minus 20 minutes, and I've included some reminders here about how to get to your session card to check your session and edit your details. And for those of you that are curious, this is what a completed speaker profile looks like. Thank you, Isabel, for being our guinea pig. Pathable has some fantastic resources available. Again, we've included some additional videos here for you to watch at your leisure. There's one about how to create and manage a poll, preparing before the event, the speaker user guide that you've just seen, and some additional pro tips and best practices. Just remember that you're doing an in-person presentation, so a couple of the digital features may not apply. But people will be using Pathable as the app on their cell phone to navigate the conference. So we encourage you to build out your session as much as you are comfortable with. Okay, we're nearly there, nearly ready to dive into the Q&A. Just one last section, Marcom. As you know, we do ask you to save a title slide for us to build out with some common elements of branding. So each presentation should have a title slide. We're sending you a deck that's got all of the assets that you can grab as you wish to plug in to your own presentation. We know not everyone uses the same software, so that way you retain as much flexibility as you need to download those. And we've also included the 2 hashtags here if you want to shout out on social media, brag to your LinkedIn network that you're giving a presentation. Please use those hashtags to share the summit details. Okay, you know what you're doing. What am I doing? After this webinar, I am sending a recording and the slide deck to all of the registrants and primary contacts. I am also sending you Marcom assets for you to use in your slides, in your title slides, as well as the Airtable form. Now, one quick word on the Airtable form. I've just celebrated 6 weeks in my job, so please accept my apologies for a misshared link, and know that if you are having to request access to an Airtable form, you have the wrong link. I will make sure that the right link is sent out in the email right after this, and everyone can update all your details right there. The Airtable form is what we're going to be using for building out the Pathable app. If you have no changes from what you submitted, great. You don't need to submit anything, but if you have any changes at all, please do send those through the Airtable form. It should be able to get through most firewalls. If you're stuck, email learning@ with those adjustments, and Q&I can take care of that for you. I'm really drilling on the Friday deadline because Monday is my deadline to download all the session info and send it off to Pathable so we can start building out the site. In the next 2 weeks, there is going to be a lot of work happening back of house at our end to make sure that we are ready to send you your invitation before September 24th. And then you've got your week to build things out. And then we, as the Out and Equal team, open it up to all attendees October the 7th. And again, here's another view of your deadlines. I know it's a bit repetitive, but it needs to be shared in a number of different ways. So this is a snapshot of all of your speaker and primary contact deadlines. One quick note for featured sessions is that if you are speaking in a featured session or a premier session, I'll reach out to you separately with some additional requirements that we have. Since those sessions are going to be live streamed, we do need to receive those decks ahead of time, but I'll be in touch with you directly on that. And if your session has been selected for a featured session, that will be noted on the schedule that is shared at the in the email after today's webinar. Okay, Rebecca, I know we're going to be jumping into Q&A very shortly. I've just included a couple of additional slides here with important contact information for you to keep at hand. And now, Rebecca, I will turn it over to you.
Wonderful. So thank you all so much for sending in these great answers. I've been getting as many of them as I can, as has Isabel, as they've come in. But now we're going to turn it over to our dedicated time to ask Jen all of these questions that you've had. So I'm going to start at the top. The first question is, are there any recommended hotels if the Mirage is full? And the answer is yes, there is. On our housing page at Summit, you can certainly go in there and find some other resources. I've also sent that link into the Zoom Q&A function. How do we get an updated registration list so we can see if our speakers are all registered? This is a great question. Jen, can you answer that?
No. I can.
Okay, Isabel, over to you.
So We are not able to share registration lists for folks. We're certainly happy to connect with if you're the primary point of contact and you want to say, or can you confirm that all of our speakers are registered? We can certainly do that, but we will ask that you check in with your speakers directly first. That would be the ideal. But for those of you who are points of contact managing multiple workshops, please reach out to Jen or myself and we'll coordinate. If you have 1 or 2 workshops, we ask that you connect with your speakers directly.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Our next question is, will workshops be broadcast to ePass attendees? Now, I believe we touched on this, but can we clarify for folks?
Sure thing. ePass attendees will have access to plenaries, premier sessions, and featured sessions.
And so just to put a little bit more color on that, if you are an ePass, first of all of us, ePass or in person, will have that pre-summit week of virtual engagement. While some of us are in Vegas as in-person attendees, those folks who are participating as ePass, to Jen's point, will be able to stream all of those sessions. So while we can't stream every single one of those 99 workshops, we do have during each workshop block, at least 2, I believe 3 options when we look at our premier and featured sessions. So there will be options for those of you who are ePass. And that also means that for those of us who are in person, those sessions are also being recorded. So you don't need to do that. I'm going to be 20 minutes in this room and then I'm going to run over to the other room. You can stay in one session and know that if you were interested in a premiere or a featured, that those sessions are recorded and will be available to you within a few days.
Thank you so much for that. And Q, no need to advance because I'm going to jump around and ask a different question related to featured sessions. So some folks are wondering what qualifies a session as a featured session. How will they know?
It will be noted on the schedule as a featured session.
And how will people running those sessions know if their session is featured?
We will be coordinating with you all after. So for those of you who are in a featured session, we're going to just need a little bit more detail from you in advance of the presentation. If I can, then just one question that I saw, I'll just answer really quickly, was, do you need to share your presentation with us? You don't. We are happy to look at presentations, provide feedback, but generally speaking, we are confident in your content, know your work, know your communities, your organizations. So you do not need to submit anything ahead of time. Except if you are a featured session, Jen and I will be reaching out to you to compile your materials a few days in advance. You don't have to, you can still procrastinate if that's how you work, but just a couple of days in advance because we will be live streaming those. So the AV team will need to have those files. That is the only difference. You will know well in advance of showing up in Las Vegas if we need that from you.
Thank you, Isabel. And for the question on screen here, is there any chance for folks to utilize a clip-on mic? Will these be provided? Folks may want more mobility to move around and interact in the space.
Clip-on mics are certainly available on site. This falls into the additional equipment that I was talking about. If you would like one for your session, we can hook you up with the AV team on site for you to rent one. We do not have it as part of our standard workshop room setup. But please reach out and we're happy to make that connection for you.
Wonderful. Now, for vaccines, we got a number of questions for folks interested in more details on what the PCR requirements are. Go to the Q&A in Zoom. But we got folks asking if they still need to take our vaccination card, if they have registered it on the CLEAR app. Jen, what do you think?
No, you just need to show proof of vaccination.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Can folks request or share a preferred time for their session slot? AKA, can they offer any influence over when they present?
I have been inviting that input for the last couple of weeks, and that door has now closed.
So noted. Sorry, folks, the window is closed. Okay, so how do folks present their presentations? How do they share their content? Do they bring their own laptop? Do they have to bring a USB? Do they email it directly to you, Jen?
No, you do not. So this might have come in before we got to that section in the presentation. We are asking that everybody brings their own laptop. That way you control your own presentation. In the spirit of always having a backup, I suggest that you have at least a USB as a backup in addition to the presentation being downloaded on your desktop. And then it's always good to have a backup of the backup, because we've all, I'm sure, experienced moments when the first backup has failed, and we don't want any of that happening at Summit.
Yeah. And I want to jump in here really quickly just to say, to Jen's point, definitely, if you have a presentation. So actually, I'm going to take a step back, because I did see someone say, do we have to have a PowerPoint? You don't. There is one workshop in particular I'm looking forward to. There's a lot, but there's one I'm looking forward to that's supposed to be a debate. It's going to be bringing people, into different sides of the room and conversing with each other. I'm imagining that that kind of session doesn't have a PowerPoint. There are some where it's a panel conversation, and maybe you have a title slide and the picture and title of your speakers, but that's it, right? The questions, it's just a conversation. In those instances, we do still ask that you bring that laptop with your presentation. You can email us if that's an issue. We'll figure out. We can't guarantee having a laptop on site for folks, though. And to Jen's point of bringing your presentation also on a USB, excuse me, I would recommend downloading your presentation as a PDF before doing so. Like I use a Mac, and when you're going between Macs and PCs, or even within the same system, one computer may have certain formats and fonts downloaded that when you go to use another computer may not have that. This is why we ask folks to bring their own laptops. I always bring my own laptop. I hate having to use another one because the fonts never work. Therefore, also encourage you, if you're saving the file or if you're using a colleague's laptop, save it as a PDF. That way, your formatting won't switch out in the middle of your presentation.
Great, thank you so much. So folks, for this question, we are checking in with our events team. We'll make sure to get an answer over to you. We do not have any lists like this on hand, any resource available for you all. You, of course, can do your own research as well, but if you've got someone on staff whose job it is to interpret, it might be worth bringing them as one of those slots in your registration. Okay, Q, let's go on. With this one also, team, we're checking in with events. We'll send the answer into the Q&A because I believe that also got submitted there. But Isabel, is the answer yes?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Plenary sessions are included in everyone's registration, ePass or in person. ePass is just listening to the presentation. Those of us who are virtual are eating, right? So there is a meal component tied to power lunch, opening brunch, and gala.
Perfect. And I think we've answered this question with that featured sessions bit. So we're going to move right along here. Okay, let's skip that one too.
I just want to confirm that all presentations and all speakers need to be physically present in Vegas. It's an in-person conference this year. This is a difference than our conference last year. So we do need to have all presenters and speakers in the room physically.
Very good point. And if there is a concern that your speakers may not be able to attend, or that you may need to switch out a speaker, please let us know as soon as possible. We are not able to stream in virtual speakers during the conference in Vegas.
Right.
Great. So because we've got limited time left, I'm going to bounce around in the questions that we have. Q, no need to follow along. We can go back to that standard Q&A slide if you'd like. And folks, we do have the live transcript going if you need that visual kind of cue to help follow along. So we've got some questions about room sizing. Is there an average size of these meeting rooms, and is a microphone necessary?
For the general sessions, the average capacity of the meeting room is between about 85 and 130 people. So if you are theatrical and can project, you may not need a microphone, although please do consider the fact that there may be people in the room who need a microphone for listening assistance.
Great, thank you, Jen. We've got another person asking about the lighting in the rooms. Is there ability to control those? For example, if they wanted to play a video during their session, could they dim those lights?
I expect the answer to be yes. There's like a general dim and a general uplight. There's probably not the ability to say dim the audience and light the stage.
Yeah.
I did just see a quick question on the social media before, and the answer to that is you can use any of the assets that are in the deck that'll be provided for you if you want to create your own social media posts.
Perfect. On that, are there templates for folks to create bios for their speakers? Do we provide those?
No.
We don't have a specific template. We certainly encourage folks to be creative. There is a little bit of a character limit, so not a more than 5 or 6 paragraphs, I think. So it's a pretty lengthy, but we really encourage you to identify what's relevant for you, your work background, your community background, why you are suited to speak to the topic that you're speaking about at Summit, but no one format. And that may change in the future. Just out of transparency, I personally don't like reading the same thing over and over. So always encouraging folks to shape it however you wish. So no set format for those bios. Just make them exciting.
Okay, perfect. One more question here, for a few more actually. The first that I'm going to give is a fun one, so it's a little short, but is there a fashion do or don't for what to wear when you're presenting?
There is.
Be fabulous. That's my do or don't.
I like that. In addition to be fabulous, I'm going to share 2 more. Comfy shoes, however if comfy means stiletto for you, be blessed. I wish I could do that, but comfy shoe. The Vegas locations are quite spread out, right? So even though we are in the same hotel, there's the hotel in the conference space. You're running back and forth across sessions. Comfortable shoes, and keep in mind that conference rooms get cold. We will not, and the venue will not be able to adjust the temperature in any one room. That's just not how it works. And so I always have to remember, yes, it's Vegas or Orlando, wherever we might be. These are hot places, but they are extra cold inside. So please be sure to bring some layers as well.
Wonderful. And another question came in around session evaluations. Jen, do you have anything to share about that? It's kind of vague, but if you've got any insight.
Yes, we will be asking our attendees to evaluate the session. And in fact, this is where we get to ask you a question. Perhaps Q, if we could go back to the Menti evaluation question, please drop into Menti. If you could ask your attendees any one question, what would you ask them? We'll then use that to help us frame our own evaluation rubrics for the sessions. Every session will have the same set of questions. But what do you want to know?
And folks, as we move on, I know there are a lot of questions we didn't get to. Our team will look through all of them, and if they bear follow-up, we'll make sure to get those answers out to you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I so appreciate your time. Look forward to getting all this information out to you. You know I'm here. You know how to reach me. Default is learning@ourandequal.org. Thanks again to Isabel and Rebecca and Q for being my co-pilots today. I appreciate you all very much and look forward to seeing you all in person very soon.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. Really excited to see you all in 5 weeks, you said, Jen?
Oh,
Thank you,
yes.
everyone.
Bye-bye.